Let me ask you a question, Cuffy. At any time during the initial stages of your indictment involving this whole Tammy Commons thing, did you talk to Big Meech or did you send a message to Big Meech in any way to tell him or to alert him of what was going on?
We sent Big Meech certified mail. Big Meech set me up, and Tammy set me up with this thing in 2013.
Big Meech just got put on full blast, and the receipts? Straight up insane. After 50 Cent pulled out some paperwork hinting that Meech might have played the snitching game, the whole internet lost its mind. But here's the thing. Where did 50 even get all this so-called proof? Turns out, he's got some old BMF associates in his corner, and they're running their mouths like they got something to prove. Now check this. People out here whispering, talking, you ain't heard what's up with her. But the real story? Big Meech ain't having none of it.
Well, did Blue Da Vinci cooperate or no?
Yeah, he cooperated. I mean, I didn't say it. It was in Miss Mara Shalhoub's book, where his own lawyer said, yeah, if there was anything else that we could do, Your Honor, to help you along with this case.
Word is flying through the streets that Meech is about to give 50 a front row lesson on how a real kingpin handles disrespect. And trust, this ain't just some petty back and forth. This is street legend status on the line. Here's what makes it extra messy. 50 Cent got a rep for spending top dollar to expose people. And when he gets his teeth into someone, he don't let go. But this time, he might want to fall back just a bit because Big Meech is not some regular dude from the block. This is Demetrius Big Meech Flannery, the mastermind behind the Black Mafia family, and his name rings bells coast to coast. Let me break it down real quick. Back in the 1980s.
One night, and then my homeboy that was with me, he was like, Tone Bird, he from BMF too. Tone was like, ask Big Homie what's up with the movie with 50, like what's going on with he from New York. I had to use my New York accent. Yo, what's going on with the 50 Cent movie? So I'm like, oh yo, Meech, what's up with the movie, with the TV show?
Meech and his little brother, Terry Southwest T. Flannery, jumped in the game heavy, pushing work in the form of $50 bags. By the time the early 2000s hit, these two turned their hustle into a national empire, moving weight through Michigan, Georgia, Florida, Cali, Louisiana, and way beyond. That kind of money flow made the feds sit up and pay attention, so Meech and Terry came up with a slick cover, BMF Entertainment. On the surface, it looked like a regular promotion company, but behind the scenes, that's where the money washing happened.
It's believed that Terry White grew up in an Atlanta housing project. But when FBI and GBI agents arrested him last night, he was living here, a sprawling $200,000 mansion in Jonesboro.
Had a media room where there were 24 TV sets on one wall hooked to a satellite dish. And you could hit a button and all 24 TVs would come on.
Now, here's the twist. BMF Entertainment wasn't all smoke and mirrors. They actually had one artist on the roster, Blue Da Vinci. In 2005, he even dropped a whole album called The World is BMF's. But by October 2003, the feds ran down on Meech, snatching him up and trading his luxury lifestyle for a prison jumpsuit. And back then, most folks pointed the finger at Blue, calling him the snitch, because out of everybody, he looked the softest.
My client would be more than willing to cooperate with you all to help you in this investigation. But now the thing of it is by you admitting what was done, you know what I'm saying, what you done or whatever, but bottom line is, you know, you didn't take the single plea. You went in and...
Plus, let's not forget, Blue Da Vinci didn't even get snatched up with the rest of the BMF crew when the feds came crashing down in 2003. When they grabbed Meech, they slapped cuffs on him and took him straight in. But Blue? Somehow, he wasn't caught in that same net. And by the time 2004 rolled around, things got even messier when BMF's logistics boss, Dexter Sosa Hussey, started throwing shade at Blue too.
He's like, I just gotta wait to holler at Tammy before, you know what I'm saying, I know where we at with that. And Tammy is a government informant. So when he said that, I was like, Tammy, what you mean, Tammy? Like, nigga, you ain't heard what's going on with her?
Sosa wasn't just talking in the streets either. He was speaking on court records. See, Blue showed up in court with his lawyer, and the lawyer straight up told the judge, "Your Honor, I did forget to mention something earlier. You asked about which defendants tried to cooperate, and Mr. McKnight, that's Blue, was one of the people who attempted to work with the government. They debriefed him, but turns out he didn't really know anything useful about the other defendants."
Was giving them information on that they already had and thought it was cool, but you know, that was part of that. You just confirmed other that the other CIs just done told.
And get this, the lawyer admitted that Blue's debriefing wasn't even fresh tea. It went down months before that court appearance. Then, just to add another layer, the lawyer said Blue even did a safety valve session earlier that same week. What's that mean? Basically, Blue was ready to talk, but the problem was, he didn't have nothing valuable to offer. So yeah, Blue tried to snitch, but the feds didn't even want the crumbs he was serving up. That's when the real question popped off. If Blue didn't have the goods, who gave the feds their inside scoop? And this is where it gets wild. After getting his name dragged all through the mud as the snitch, Blue decided to clear his name once and for all. In 2023, during an interview with Cap Capone News, he flipped the whole script and exposed the real person who gave up the goods. And that's when Tammy Cowan's name hit the spotlight. So, who's Tammy Cowans? She's been Meech's business partner since way back in 2008. And after Meech got locked up, Tammy stayed solid, keeping in touch with him and running errands on his behalf while he was behind bars. And for some reason, Meech thought she was so loyal, he actually gave her control over his life rights. That's right, he signed the paperwork, handing her the power to tell his story to the world. That meant Tammy had the golden ticket. She could flip Meech's life story into a money printing machine. And that's exactly what she did, linking up with 50 Cent to co-produce his hit 2021 show, BMF. But here's where things turn sideways. According to the paperwork Blue leaked, Tammy wasn't just out here securing TV deals. She was allegedly playing both sides, feeding info straight to the feds. In those same leaked documents, Tammy is listed as CS1, a confidential source who teamed up with the DEA's Atlanta division back in 2009. And guess what she gave up? Info that helped crack open a money laundering case, which led to the conviction of a dude named Terry White. This wasn't some small-time hustle either. Terry White was heavy in the game, and thanks to Tammy running her mouth, they got him locked up. Now check this! When Tammy started talking, she wasn't even getting paid. But after her tip helped the DEA bag Terry White, they realized she might actually be useful down the line. So her handler, a DEA agent named Harsh, decided to put Tammy in for a reward, a cut of the value from the assets they snatched from White's operation. And if you know anything about these kingpins, that property haul wasn't chump change. We're talking cars, cash, cribs, and more. But here's the crazy part. Tammy didn't even step into the informant life because she was broke or scared. The paperwork makes it clear she had no criminal record, wasn't caught up in the substance game, wasn't begging for a lighter sentence, and wasn't trying to dodge any charges. Basically, the feds themselves admitted she was one of the weirdest informants they'd ever dealt with. So why'd she do it? Straight revenge! Word is, Terry White used Tammy to clean his dirty money without her even knowing. And once she found out, she flipped the whole script. She wasn't about to let anyone make her look like a pawn in their operation. This wasn't about money or freedom, it was personal, and Tammy was playing for payback. But here's the real head scratcher. Why did Tammy keep spilling secrets after the feds already locked up Terry White? That's where things start connecting. But hold up. We'll get to that twist in a second. While all this was going down, Big Meech was cooking up his own play from behind bars, and trust, this one was bold. Inside the pen, Meech crossed paths with a cartel player named Fidel Suarez. This dude wasn't just some corner hustler, he ran a whole trucking company out in California and had already caught the feds' attention more than once. They investigated and arrested him twice, first in 2005 and then again in 2009 for suspected substance trafficking, but both times they couldn't make the charges stick. Meech had a plan, a wild one, to use Suarez's pipeline to keep product moving, even though he was stuck behind bars. He figured if he could still move weight from his cell, he could keep the money flowing, no matter how long his sentence was. But there was one problem. Meech was locked up tight, so he needed someone on the outside to make the plays. That's where Tammy slid right into the picture. According to the paperwork, in September 2011, Meech hit up Tammy, identified as CS1, and asked her to help coordinate the delivery of a load that would be handled by Suarez. At that point, Suarez and Tammy were already talking directly. The docs say Suarez first reached out to Tammy just to check in and ask how Meech was holding up. But that friendly call kicked off something way bigger. With Tammy now plugged in, Meech made her the middlewoman to connect Suarez with his longtime homie, Dion Cuffy Gatling, a heavyweight in the game himself. Cuffy wasn't small-time either. Court records show he ran the whole Gatling trafficking organization, a crew responsible for flooding the streets of St. Louis with product from 2009 all the way to 2014. Together, Meech, Suarez, and Cuffy were lining up to move serious weight across state lines. Only thing? They had a snake in the garden, and her name was Tammy. She was secretly feeding everything back to the feds the whole time. And thanks to her reports, law enforcement had enough dirt to grab Cuffy on March 13th, 2014. When it was all said and done, Cuffy got slapped with 27 years for drug trafficking and using weapons in a deal that led to someone losing their life. But here's the craziest part. Meech never caught a single charge for setting up the whole operation. And that's got everybody asking the same question. How did Meech dodge an indictment when his hands were all over the deal? It's crystal clear the feds knew exactly what was going down, but here's the twist. Tammy straight up lied to protect Meech when they pressed her in court. According to official documents, during a hearing, Tammy was directly asked about paragraph 8 in the reports, where it said, CS1 told investigators that Demetrius Flanori coordinated substance distribution arrangements between Suarez and Gatling. When they hit her with that question, Tammy didn't even blink. She said no. And she didn't stop there. When they doubled back and asked if Meech had anything to do with setting up those multi-kilo cocaine deliveries from Suarez to Gatling through her, she denied that too. She covered for Meech all the way, no hesitation. But after that stunt, the feds put a giant red flag on her name. They realized they couldn't trust her anymore. But wait, it gets even messier. Turns out, Tammy wasn't just tangled up in the case. She was getting cozy with one of the DEA agents working the whole investigation. That's right. She was sleeping with someone on the inside, and that little fling ended up compromising the entire case. Tammy was deep in dangerous territory, playing every angle like a chess master. But eventually, the whole thing started crashing down on her head. By March 2015, everything flipped when Tammy came across a suppression motion filed by Gatling's legal team. That motion was a serious problem because it could expose her identity as the confidential source. The moment Tammy realized her name might get out there, panic hit her hard. And with good reason. Gatling wasn't just any dealer. He had a reputation. Official records show Gatling was convicted for ordering the hit on a man named Theus Howard back in 2010, all because Howard dared to snitch on Gatling's brother and his trafficking business. And if that wasn't enough, Gatling's name was tied to another hit in 2013, this time on a man named Terrence Morgan. Why? Because Gatling found out Morgan was about to start talking to the feds about his drug empire. So Gatling made sure Morgan didn't live long enough to say a word. With all that blood on his hands, if Gatling found out Tammy was the one feeding info to the feds, it would have been lights out for her. No question. Terrified, Tammy ran to the feds for protection, but they straight up ignored her. So, with nowhere else to turn, Tammy made one last desperate move. She went to see Big Meech himself. But after all those years of loyalty, the man Tammy had been riding for Big Meech himself wasn't exactly ready to return the favor. When she went to him, scared for her life and looking for help, all Meech told her was that he didn't want his name tangled up in any of it. Straight like that. Meech wasn't trying to get his hands dirty or catch heat from Gatling, and he definitely didn't want his name popping up in court papers tied to the whole mess. After that cold meeting, Tammy flipped the script completely. She went into full cleanup mode, doing everything possible to erase Meech's name from the case entirely. She even dragged the DEA agent she'd been messing with into the chaos, accusing him of being jealous of her bond with Meech. Court records show Tammy, aka CS1, even threatened to blast out an unsworn affidavit to every single person involved in the case, from the lawyers to the judge. And in that affidavit, she went off, specifically calling out the statements in the wiretap affidavit that claimed Meech set up the whole deal between Gatling and Suarez. Tammy said flat out that Agent Chroma, the same agent she was sleeping with, only threw Meech's name in the mix because he was salty about how close she was to Meech. But even with all her wild moves, none of it really saved Tammy in the end. Once Cuffy got locked up, it didn't take him long to figure out exactly who snitched on him. And when he did, it was game over. Cuffy filed for a Frank's hearing, which gave him the legal right to put his accusers on the stand. That meant everybody, from the government agents to the informants, had to face him directly. And yeah, that definitely included Tammy. Fast forward to 2024. Blue Da Vinci sat down for yet another interview with Cap Capone, but this time, he had backup. Cuffy himself called in from prison, ready to air it all out. And Cuffy didn't hold nothing back. He said the real reason Meech never got hit with charges was because he played the system like a pro, using third-party cooperation to protect himself, even if it meant throwing others under the bus. Like I always say, if you kick it with a known snitch, your name gonna get dirty too, no matter how solid you claim to be. That's just the way it works in the streets. And for everybody asking why all this old dirt is suddenly getting dug back up, you can thank 50 Cent for that. The moment 50 started talking, the whole internet tuned in. Love him or hate him, when 50 speaks, the streets listen. And to make it even wilder, 50 ain't done yet. He's already threatening to drop a full tell-all story exposing every shady move Meech ever made. According to 50, this is gonna prove once and for all that Meech played both sides and worked with the feds. So now we gotta ask, is Meech really guilty? Or is this just another 50 stunt to push his own agenda? Either way, the streets are watching, and this story is far from over. Let us know what you think in the comments. Is Meech really a snitch, or is 50 just stirring the pot? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss the next drop. And trust me, the next one, it's gonna be even crazier. See you on the next one.